My philosophical proclivity is that I am a dualistic, pantheistic, synchronistic, eclectic with pessimistic, anarchistic, iconoclastic, and sarcastic tendencies. And I have a theory that we are all Siamese twins, and that our bilateral symmetry is indicative of the fact that we have two separate identities. We have two personalities. We have two spirits, two souls, and they are fused together. And when we are born, we learn how to communicate and cooperate with our twin self, our sibling. We are a pair, and that interior dialogue is the origin of communication, of language, of thought. And it's also the basis of relationship, and all the hierarchical relationships that exist in the world emulate that goes on in our own minds. And the reason that we are codependent is because we are trying to emulate that internal relationship of completing each other within. And when we have a relationship with another person, we are two halves connecting with their two halves. And oftentimes, one half of us is dominant and the other half of them is dominant. And in normal circumstances, you get along like you typically expect. But then sometimes in different circumstances, you react and interact much differently. Like when you're at your in-laws or at their friend's party, or when you're home or work, or when you're traveling, or when things are stressful, then you shift and there's a problem because people don't know how to communicate within themselves. Perhaps. Anyway, it's also, I think, the reason that we make a connection with the divine energy of the universe and personify it, because we are feeling the energies of the universe connecting and thinking and feeling and growing and being and evolving and all that good, great, groovy stuff within our own human self. And it is through that matrix, that scaffolding, that formula that we perceive the world, that we perceive divinity. And so the kingdom of heaven is within, because that is where the divine realm exists. It's where the energy of the universe is connecting to itself. It's in our own brains. It's in the brains of all creatures with bilateral symmetry. Nature is divine. It's full of it is full of wonder. It is full of sacred geometry. It is full of amazing algorithms that perpetuate and that create divine interactions. And we're all a great part of that. It's pretty amazing. And so when we experience our day, there's two half of us going around perceiving and reacting. And then when we go to sleep, the two halves of our brains speak to each other and they communicate. And our superconscious or subconscious or unconscious or whatever layer you want to describe it as observes the conversation and perceives it as dreams. And so there's a lot going on inside, and I think we need to spend more time sleeping happily, not being woken up by an alarm clock. I think we need to spend more time in nature and getting in touch with our circadian rhythms, the sleep cycles, the cycles of the seasons, of the moon, the zodiacs. It's just simply the time of the year, the seasons, pollen, flu season, seasonal foods. There's many things that affect and interact within our own lives. And we are a combination of many of those things. We are a culmination of many factors coming together. And, it's all pretty great if you observe it and if you can actually be, be a part of it and not just be a passive observer. We shouldn't get too caught up in the flow of life to not observe ourselves, to not take a moment to examine who we are, who we want to be, who we've been, who we're becoming, and all of those such things. There's a lot of potential out there. And I envision a world where people can live in simplicity and happiness, peace and love even, perhaps, if we try, make a few sacrifices and work on good communication skills. So hopefully, eventually, our individual divinity will blend back into unity, and so that the gods will become one again, so that perhaps the children of children may know of world peace.